right? A little bit. So we have a saying in Haiti, so we never say bonsoir. So if you know good Haitians, we don't say bonsoir, we don't say bonjour. You know, because you know why?
Yeah,
because bonjour, bonsoir is our colonized ways of greetings each other. The non-colonized way, you show up in a Haitian space, you say, l'honneur.
Respect.
And then if there are Haitians in the house, you're going to hear respect. So we're going to try it. We say l'honneur, respect.
Respect.
So if there's, so it's like a call in, it's call in, you know, call and response, as we say in English, right? So I show up, I say l'honneur,
respect,
and then you say respect.
And don't knock on the door.
Right? So what does that mean, essentially? The reason why we say that, because we say l'honneur, which means to honor, and respect means to respect. So when you show up in somebody's home in Haiti, you say honneur, and then if you don't hear respect, go home.
Yeah, don't get it.
Not ready for you yet, right? Right? So, but it's a way for us to be able to say, we will honor, every time we come together, we honor each other, right? We honor the spirit that brings us together, and then we will do so in a way that is respectful. We'll be respectful of each other. See how that already puts you in a good place, right? When you show up in a place and that's already, right, the tone of what you're about to get, which is really, really cool. So my name is Guerda, Nicolas. I am here joined by my amazing executive director,
Dr. Alyssa Jean.
Right? Let us just first of all say a huge thank you and shout out to Reggie Miller. Reggie, is Reggie. Yes. And the reason why we're saying that, because Reggie is a good friend and colleague, and a couple of years ago we were talking with Reggie, and Reggie says, have you ever heard about this festival? And we're like, no. He said, you should come. It was like literally a couple months before the festival. He's like, you should come. And we packed up, registered our ticket, and we went to Colombia, right, for the festival. And we were amazed about being in a tribe, in a community that clearly is around the work. And it's not just about talking, it's also about the action. And how amazing it is, here we are, Reggie, presenting on the work. So thank you, Reggie. Merci, merci. Merci un peu.
All right. So we're going to get started with our presentation, which is called From Preservation to Permanence, Financing Sustainable Development in Ayiti. And now, you've heard us say Ayiti, but we're going to tell you a little bit about why we use the word Ayiti instead of the word Haiti. So everyone say, A is for Ayiti. A is for Ayiti. All right, Ayiti is the indigenous spelling of the authentic name of the Arawak Taino homeland that is today called the Republic of Haiti and Dominican Republic. Remember, it's one island. We honor the indigenous name of the land we call home. By using the indigenous spelling of the name, we are claiming ownership of Ayiti's history and embracing a new narrative of our country.
So think about that for a moment, right? Because we say all the time, like, what's in a name, right? And so, like, what happened for Ayiti? Like, what happened? How did we go from Ayiti, you see I'm smiling when I say it, to Haiti, right? And what does that mean when one's name gets changed, right? Knowing very well how important name is. And so we thought we were unique, but it turns out that we're not unique. There are lots of countries that have lost their name, right, along the way. It turns out that if you keep our name as it is spelled, Ayiti, A-Y-I-T-I, then we will always be listed as one of the top 10 countries in the world. See how that's messed up? Right? But Haiti with an H puts us down on the list, right? And so this is really is important for us because we really do believe that reclaiming that, because this is what the Diaspora Festival is all about. It's about reclaiming who we are, reclaiming our identity. And so we choose to always say Ayiti, And so you will help us, right, as well, if you are in spaces and you say, oh, I want to talk about Haiti, right, and not Haiti with the H, right, as well. Okay, with that, I know we don't have a lot of time.
But did you want to make the connection to Puerto Rico?
Oh, please go ahead, right? So it's kind of interesting. Like, so the reason why we're making the connection to Puerto Rico and why we're here, because when we started doing this research around our name, we're like, oh my God, they're like, you know, you get really upset by it because you're like, how could they do that to us, you know? And then you realize, like, oh, we're not alone. Like, Philippine is not Philippine's name, right? Puerto Rico is not Puerto Rico's original name. Canada is not original. Africa, the continent that we call Africa, is actually not the name. And I really, you know, like, call for all of you to kind of take a look at names and say, is that the original name? Because there's a way that we receive things that are given to us, right, as they are given to us, but we don't question them, right, ever. And so this is an opportunity for us to say, spaces that we are occupying, what was the original name, right, beforehand as well, which is important. Okay, so with a little bit of time.
So here's a brief overview of what we're going to do in our session today. We are going to talk to you about our organization, the community foundation called Ayiti Community Trust. We are going to talk about the current context, the moment in which we are right now, the role of the diaspora, our model as a foundation, and examples in which our work has been done and proven, and then what this funding model that we are going to share with you can become, and lastly, our call to actions to let you know how you can participate and be a part of this mission with us. And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about our identity of Ayiti Community Trust. So for one, I want you to repeat after me. This is something that we say together as a community, and it helps to ground us in this work, and I think it's very appropriate, even though this one is specifically our mission, but I think for the diaspora, this can apply as well. So repeat after me. We are one people.
We are one people.
One nation.
One nation.
United to protect our land.
United to protect our land.
Preserve our legacy.
Preserve our legacy.
And build a prosperous future for Ayiti.
And build a prosperous future for Haiti.
And you can say it in Creole.
Bon, déclaration nous c'est un seul peuple. Tendez-moi. Listen to the language. Like what happens, right, when we do that. So en Creole, we would say, nous c'est un seul peuple, une seule nation, unie pour protéger terre nous, préserver héritage nous, et puis bâtir un avenir prospère pour Haïti.
So for my Haitians who are in the room, when you hear it, how does it make you feel? Say that again, please.
Makes you feel how?
Home. It makes you feel home. So we are a binational organization. We are based both in the States and in Haiti, and we actually have a bilingual team as well. So half of our team speaks English primarily, most of our team speaks Creole too.
Yeah.
So we are always doing this work where we are valorizing, we are putting value on our original language because they don't mean the same things in English. So it's very important that we have these words translated because it reminds us of home. It reminds us of how we are connected to the actual land and to the people. Mm-hmm. So that is our declaration. Our vision is a thriving, self-sufficient Haiti where Haitian communities lead their own development.
Vision nous c'est un Haïti qui a fleuri, qui cambe jam côté communauté haïtien yo ap mener propre développement pa yo.
So if you know anything about community development, you understand that in order for it to be effective, it has to be led by the people who are doing that work. And so that's why we see a vision in which Haitian communities are the ones who are in charge, not outsiders, which has been traditional unfortunately in the philanthropic space. So we are encouraging and supporting a vision of self-sufficiency, of sovereignty, of community-based leadership. And our mission is to build a sustainable source of funding for Haitian-led organizations focused on civic education, the environment, and entrepreneurship.
Vision nous c'est bâtir un sous-financement durable pour organisations haïtiennes qui engagées dans l'éducation civique, environnement et entrepreneuriat.
Now these three pillars did not come by happenstance, and we did not choose them. Our founder, along with some of our beginning members, did a tour of Ayiti. They went all across the island and they listened to the communities and their leaders and asked, what is it that you think, if we wanted to see a change, what are the things that we would need to focus on? And
we came up with exactly those 3 pillars, right? And really, really important. So the pillars of civic education, which is really interesting because it was about the rural community folks saying that in order for you to think about transformational change in Haiti, the people have to care about the land, that the people have to care about the communities and engaging in programs. So think about that for a moment as you're thinking about Haiti and what you think Haiti needs, right, when you hear about Haiti. But the people said we would like programs that are focusing on people loving their nations and people loving their communities, right? And the second part of that is the environment, which is really is important for us. As you know, Haiti is named Haiti because it's mountainous land, which means in any part of Haiti, you cannot go without seeing the mountain on one side and the beach on the other side, right, always. And so it really is important that we are protecting both the mountains and the land coast as well in terms of our work. And then the last part that the people told us about in the rural communities is that there was a need to ensure that people could have money in their pocket, because money in your pocket builds dignity. People were not interested in folks coming in and providing charity and really helping them developing and supporting their kids going to school. That's not what they asked for. They asked for opportunities for them to make money so they can pay for their own kids' school, so they can pay for their own health care, which is really is important. So the foundation is focusing on those 3 things because the people said, as a community foundation, which doesn't exist in Haiti, with the first community foundation in the country that is focusing on these 3 pillars, right, as well. So clearly what they told us from this listening tour was that there was a need to create a model that wasn't based on charity. Haitians are very clear that they don't need charity, that they really need a model that is built on sovereignty. Haiti has celebrated this year 222 years of independence. Did I say that right? 222 years. Do you know how many years the United States is celebrating? 250, right? So think about that. Let that sink in for a moment, right? So Haiti is wanting to build a foundation that is built on sovereignty and not on charity, right? Model as our process.
So some context. So we want to tell you a little bit about how the diaspora has been navigating this space. We're going to give you some stats, and then we're going to share with you how we are choosing to do this work moving forward.
So interestingly enough, I don't know if, I'm sure many of you are following the news in the United States. I'm like in Haiti half my time, so I tried as much as possible not to spend a whole lot of time of what the current president is doing in the United States, but I know it's unavoidable. But I don't know how many of you know, but there's a new remittance policy that just got put in place as of February 26th. Anybody heard of it? Right? It's not just the TPS, it's the remittance policy. The new remittance policy in the United States that just got put in effect is that all remittance that are leaving the United States to go to any other country is going to be taxed 5%. Right? Mexico argued for 1%. Right? But that just put into effect as of February 26th. Right? So then if you, and Haiti is not one of the 10 countries, right? India, Nigeria, Philippines, China, Bangladesh, those are the top 10 countries that we're talking about. So think about 5% on remittance happening as of now, as of February 20th. You can look it up, right? And so on. So Haiti, in terms of our list, is that Haiti sends $4.9 billion last year from the diaspora.
Yes, the diaspora sends
$4.9 billion
to the island.
To the island, right? Just last year. And that number just keeps going up. So people thought for sure it's going to drop in COVID. It didn't, right? It continued to rise up, right? So that is literally representing 20% of the Haitians' GDP in country, right? Which is insane, right? But we know that most of that fund that comes into country is underinvested, right? What do I mean by that? It means that I, like Alyssa, Alyssa's sending some money to her auntie in Haiti. She sent that auntie $1,000, let's say, because she's feeling very generous this month. She sent them $1,000 this month, and that auntie goes to spend that money. And most of the stuff that the auntie is buying from are things that are being imported in the country, not the things that are being built locally. You see it? So essentially, she sends money to Haiti to support, right, a business that is in Miami, right, that is locally. So it really is not necessarily investing in the local economy at all. So we see that there are some major gaps that exist because there isn't a structure that's in place. We have this over here because we had beautiful slides for you, but we learned that we're not going to have beautiful slides. So, there's no structure in place right now for that investment to take place, right? So what's the option that we are giving the diaspora to say, yes, you can send money, and we're not saying that sending money to home is not a good thing, but sending money to Haiti is not a long-term plan in terms of investment, right? And so the opportunity to really think about the financing of that and what that could look like in country might be really, really huge. So think for a moment of what could happen if we take 1% of 4.9 billion, right? 1% of 4.9 billion and we invest it in the market, right? And what that could look like for the long term. And that is what we really want to talk with you about, is around that particular model right now. Because we really do believe that the future of Haiti is really dependent on the diaspora playing a significant role in the investment in the country, right? Because I don't know about you, but I cannot find an example of one nation that went to another nation to help it build itself. Do you? Do you know one? Do you know a nation, an example, and a nation that went to another country and helped that country build itself? Right? The whole global south, right? Which is really, really, really important. And it's a story that is often not told, right? We are heading to Greece because every year Greece celebrates Ayiti. Every single year. Why? Because Haiti was the only nation that sent resources and people to help Greece gain its independence. Did you know that? Not a part of the story. Right? And then you learn about Poland. Right? Then we know the story with Colombia. We know the story with Venezuela. We know the story with Cuba. Right? Most people don't know that Haiti was the only nation in the Western Hemisphere that welcomed 100,000 Jews during the Holocaust. The United States said no when they came knocking. Great Britain said no. Haiti said, please come, right, as a central part of that. So those stories are not necessarily told, right, in the same way. So we know that Haitians, like by blood, by ancestors, have that spirit of engaging and supporting, right, others in a significant way. And we really want to think about how we're mobilizing to be able to do so. So we know that the diaspora matters, and they matter for all those reasons. What I'm saying is because they continue to care about what's happening in Haiti, right? You see, the way you feel good when I speak Creole, and you hear those words, like it still is very much there. And we want to think about the collective impact that all of us can have, both in the diaspora, but as well as friends of Haiti as well.
So why the diaspora matters. So the diaspora resources are Haiti's largest financial flow. The collective giving can transform impact, and diaspora leadership builds global influence. So what we've been able to see over the past few years, for those of you who have been keeping up with social media or any of the things that you've seen, there's been a lot more knowledge and information being shared about these stories, and recognizing that they may have been hidden or put, to the side or erased for some. And we've been bringing those up to the forefront. And we did this in a way to make sure that we could engage the diaspora in a meaningful way. So one of the things that we did at the foundation is we started Haitian Preservation. So Haitian Preservation is a cultural transformation platform that helps connect Haitian diaspora, those who are living outside of Haiti, to a community that is invested in learning more about their own cultural identity, learning more about how that they can have a personal transformation that would lead to collective community impact. And so what Haitian Preservation does for the foundation is it takes over its programming, it supports individuals who would like to go and connect actually to the land. So for me personally, that's how I got into this work. She took me home one year and I've never been the same. I literally have done everything that I could to make sure that I could continue this, I could share this with my children, I could bring them home so that they could learn about themselves. And so Haitian Preservation is one of the ways that we have been engaging the diaspora to have a knowledge of self, to unlearn a lot of the things that we have been taught, and then to relearn those things in a way that is self-empowering so that it can move into transformational impact in the land, in the actual land of Ayiti. And so we are actually having a revival. We're calling it our Spring Revival to honor nature's new year. And if you go to haitianpreservation.com/revival, you'll learn more about how we are engaging our community, bringing in cultural experts, historians, geologists. We're talking about the land, its position in the Caribbean, how the richness of the soil. These are all of the things that we are discussing and bringing to the forefront so that our community has a place to learn. So if you want to scan the QR code, I'll make sure to have that for you. But just so you know, a few of the people who are going to be, are any of you familiar with Professor Baina Bello? She is actually one of our foremost Haitian our historians, because she talks about history being from a male perspective and our story actually taking in all of our stories, women, children, the whole collective. And she is going to be talking about our origin stories. Because one of the things that we may have learned as a people is that there's probably one version that we have been taught. And so she's going to be teaching us and sharing with us her words of wisdom so that we could learn more about our cultural lens when it comes to origins. We also have some geologists, environmentalists, brand partners, wellness partners. So this is really a healing and learning space for the community to come together. So we'd love to invite you there to our Spring Revival next week.
So the question that we're asking, we have like a transformational question which is around this sort of Haitian preservation piece, and that is, we want to ask ourselves that question that I was posing at the beginning, right? We build this foundation, this community foundation, on the belief that the Haitian diaspora can absolutely be mobilized to help to do this work that we want to be able to do in country. And so we started asking ourselves the question of what could happen if, in fact, a portion of that diaspora remittance money was able to be invested in a really meaningful way. And so that really is what led us to this model that most of you are probably very familiar with, which is the endowment model, right? Harvard has an endowment model. Most universities have an endowment model. How many of you already have an endowment model, like in terms of your own work? Raise your hand if that's like a part of your work, right, that you built it. How many people are familiar with the model, like an endowment, right, overall? So like, many of us are very much familiar with it, and one of the things that we learn is that most of the institutions that exist for the long term exist because they have such a thing inside of them, right? Like having an endowment model allows you to exist in perpetuity. And we wanted to ensure that what we were building for Ayiti, right, along with the diaspora, was something that was going to be there in perpetuity. And that is where the endowment model comes in, because, you know, we have a saying in Haitian Creole that says, right, graisse cochon. Okay, I'm testing my Haitian right here. Graisse cochon, quid cochon, right? Graisse cochon, quid cochon. But what does that mean? It just literally means that you never really eat the pig, right? Like, how do you invest, like, have the capital, and when you have the capital, you only are using the yield for the purpose of the work that you are doing, but you're never really touching the larger investment. Now, the Miami Foundation is a good model for us because a lot of the work that we've been doing is related to some of the things that they did. This is how Miami Foundation started. They had 2 Cubans in Miami each put $10,000 in an endowment fund 54 years ago. And they put $20,000 in an investment, and now the Miami Foundation has $188 million in their endowment fund. Right? That allows them to be around for a long time, that allows them to continue to do that work in perpetuity. And so that is the concept, that is what we are building, and that makes Ayiti Community Trust unique in that sense, because we are building that permanent fund with an initial $20 million. Nothing. By the way, that's nothing. $20 million, I just said $4.9 billion. Went from the diaspora, to Ayiti. So $20 million is nothing to build. But $20 million as an initial endowment, and if you put it, most of you who knows the market will know that will yield us about $1 million a year. That is if we do nothing, right? And we don't add to it. So it makes sense for us to really be thinking about the idea of building a permanent fund that will allow for the work that is happening in Ayiti to be done in perpetuity. So I don't have to share with you the finance approach of all of that. So we are in the process of building that endowment fund as we speak, right? So it's establishing the fund. It's making sure that we are mobilizing the people in the community to join us in that process. But it's also investing the fund. And we are doing it through the Miami Foundation, as I just shared with you, in their investment portfolio. So it's not that when somebody gives $10 to an endowment, it comes to us. We don't look this good because of the money that we are collecting for the endowment, right? Because all that money is going directly to the Miami Foundation to build that permanent fund that we are talking about, And once we get to $20 million, which we'll get there very soon, we'll have another goal for another $20 million again, right, around it in terms of continuing to build the endowment, which is really important. Okay, so how are we serving as a bridge?
Yes, we are serving as a bridge in 3 ways. 3 ways: transparency, accountability, and Haitian-led philanthropy.
So what does that mean for us? So there is a reason as to why we're using trust in our name. So we call ourselves Ayiti Community Trust because Ayiti of what we said, community because we are building a community of people who are investing in this fund, but also we are supporting organizations that are based in the rural community. We use trust because we already talked about that as a part of this festival already, about how important that trust is, right? Like, can I trust this organization to do what it needs to do beyond the financial aspect, but also can I trust the organizations and the communities to do the work? So issues of transparency is important. You should be able to know when the money is given, where did it go? You should be able to come to Ayiti, and we invite you to do so, to see where the fund is being invested. So being able to play that role is important in terms of ensuring that we have a level of transparency and accountability, but also making sure that you can see where the work and where the fund is going and how it's supporting. And so how we do it? We do that a couple of different ways in Ayiti right now.
Yes, so our funding mechanism is that we do grants. So we have every year for the last 9 years, we're actually going to be celebrating 10 years in December. So every year we started about year 3 or 4, started doing grants to grassroots organizations in the rural communities specifically, because we knew that there was innovations happening there and resources weren't getting there because of the centralization model that's happening in Ayiti. So part of our strategy has been to make sure that when we provide grants, we're providing grants to those areas that need it the most. We also have multi-year support. We've been able as a foundation to secure funding to support programs, one of which is the PADE program. It's an economic program, and I'm going to ask, you're going to talk about it in a little bit. So we're going to talk about that program in a little bit. And local partnerships, we continue to work with organizations. Like I said, we have a team in Ayiti as well, and we're visiting all the time. So anytime they're like, no, don't go to Haiti. That is not true. You can definitely go to Haiti and you will be safe and have a good time, but of course you do things with caution and, with good wisdom, right? And you're gonna go with someone you trust, but we typically go to Haiti at least, how many times? I know I go at least 4 to 5 times a year. and we're able to go in and see the work for ourselves. We're able to support, speak with our community partners for them to tell us their needs, so then we can go back and strategize. So we definitely rely on local partnerships and also connections. So whenever you're coming into different spaces, especially as a diaspora person, that's why that l'honneur and respect, that honor and respect culture is important. So that's why we make sure that we are honoring the local connections. We are speaking with the community. They get to see our face. You know, they're seeing that there's real people behind the work so that they can trust the work.
So for the last couple of years, we've really been trying to refine that mod, like in terms of our areas. And if you haven't really read a book, I really recommend that you pick up this book called Prosperity Paradox. Anybody read it? Prosperity Paradox, pick it up. Prosperity Paradox really is an amazing book because it helps you think about the work that you are doing, but really centering market-driven economy. Anybody heard that term? Market-driven economy. Henry Ford was a good example of market-driven economy. It's like, how do you support entities and work that is happening, but that builds on a value chain? The reason why Henry Ford was so successful is because he created the T model car in a time when people couldn't afford a whole lot. But it's not just creating a car that worked, it's creating the whole value chain along with it. Because now you needed the tires, you needed paint, right? And because you get more people on the road, now you have to build the road. And because you had more people on the road, you needed tolls, right? And so on and so forth. So that process has allowed us to be able and to see how can we focus on market-driven economies in country that allows us to think about more job creation, right? For the long run. And these are some of the areas that we are focusing on. Women entrepreneurship. I don't have to tell you what happened when we give women money. I don't even have to say anything to you. Like if you really want a society to really thrive, we're not just saying it because we are women, but we know exactly what happened. The research shows it, that when we support women entrepreneurs, societies thrive, right? And so the opportunity for us to focus on women entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprise businesses in country is a major part of our priorities. Climate and environmental is important. The local economic work as well, and of course our young people. Haiti is a nation that 60% of the nation is under the age of 25. 60% of Haiti is under the age of 25. There is no way we can talk about economic development in a nation without really thinking about how we're engaging the young people in terms of that work as well. So we want to share with you a couple examples of like what do we mean by that market-driven economy work that we are talking about. So we you know, if you haven't seen Sasha Fisher, some of you may know Sasha Fisher's work, who created this whole FCAP program that is ramping over in Africa right now, that's really helping build economic opportunities from Rwanda to Ghana to other places, Uganda as well. And so we took a group of people from Haiti to the continent to go see the program, to see could that program be effective for Haiti. And we came out and says, absolutely, that program could be really useful, but it needs to be culturally adapted. What is the program essentially? You bring the people together in their communities, they think about an economic opportunity, and then you fund that. And you pour it onto them over and over and over again to scale it up, right, in terms of job creation. And that is the program that is happening right now in about 5 communities in Haiti, right, in terms of economic opportunities. The second program I'll share with you very quickly is in the areas of honey and bees. That is another market-driven economy, right? So now, honey may not seem a big deal to you, but if you ever go to the market and try to buy honey, see how expensive it is, right, to buy honey? But it turns out like in Haiti, honey is really big. That's what market-driven economy is all about. It's like, do the local market wants it and needs it? So we know that honey will sell in Haiti. But it's not just about the honey selling in Haiti. It's what the animal does in general, right? The insect itself and how good it is for the environment. But it's everything else that you can do from the insect. Beeswax comes from that. You can do wine from it, right? There's so many other economies that can be built. So right now we are working with a little bit over 200 apicultors in Haiti around building that value chain to create the same kind of honey, right? And once you have that enterprise, imagine now creating the bottles in Haiti. More jobs. The labels in Haiti. More jobs, right? So it's like, how do you create something that builds on those value chains are some of these examples. I know we're going to be out of time, right? So it's an opportunity for you to see all of the ways that having $1 million right now, if anybody's ready to give us the $20 million, we're ready. If we had $1 million right now, there's a whole lot of things that could happen, right?
Right, and so that's what the question was. How do we take this $4 billion, channel it into a $20 million endowment fund that will yield us every year and strategically invest those into rural communities based on market-driven economies that will help to develop Haiti. And so it can do so many things for us, and we know that it will ensure that development would happen every single year in Haiti. It would ensure that we have a model for diaspora-driven nation building, and it would ensure a legacy for future generations. And so...
Yes, so how can you participate? We're getting the sign on the back, right? So what does that law look like for you, and why is it that we felt it was important for us to have this conversation here, right? So clearly being able to we're asking all of you to become like Haiti ambassadors. Are you with me? Right? Are you joining me? Haiti ambassador. That means now you as an ambassador have a very different perspective and understanding about Haiti. Right? And the story that you get to be able to say about Haiti will look very, very different from now on, right? And being able to let people know that we do, in fact, have a foundation that is based in the States and in Haiti that can serve as that bridge. People don't have to worry about where their money will go and how the money will be spent in Haiti, because we are serving as that bridge that can be transparent, that can be trustworthy, to be able to ensure that the fund is being invested properly and the work is being done, right, effectively as well. So really being able to help spread the word about the fact that we exist and we're here and that the foundation is doing the work will be a huge, huge, support as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we're gonna
open up for some questions.
Yes.
And answers, if anyone has any questions.
My question is, how do you give? Like, you asked us to be ambassadors, but if you want to contribute to the fund, what steps do I need to take?
You would think we planted her.
I love it.
But we didn't. We didn't. Yes.
Yeah, so you can definitely give if you would like to give specifically to our endowment. No, there is no minimum amount. So you can give specifically to our endowment. You go to iitcommunitytrust.org, and when you're on our site, you'll see the endowment page, which will give you a lot of more information, questions and answers, anything else that you would like to know. If you would like to contribute to the organization as well, there are contribute buttons that will also allow you to do that as well.
And then, of course, that's the other piece that we would say is, it's true that you can give $10 and $20 and that would, or $100 or $100,000, that's great. But we're not a transactional organization. We want to build relationship with people, right? So the opportunity for you to learn more and be connected to the work that is happening, and then you get a chance to tell the story of ACT and the work that is happening, is going to worth much more to us, right, than an immediate contribution. So we really are looking for true friends of Haiti, because it's really one of those things that Haiti has not had, right, right? So true friends of what that would mean, for us. So I really invite you all to also think about how we can engage, sit down and talk about the foundation and the work that is happening. And maybe you might think about 5 other people that you think should participate in that conversation. And that's going to be worth much more, right, than a one-time transactional piece as well. So really thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One question I have, does Diaspora from Haiti have a particular platform in which they give the remittance? You have PayPal, you have Western, because I'm curious, in terms of just the system, right? Are there partners you could build with some of them, because they charge fees?
Yes.
Thank you for that.
If the entire community knows, go to this platform, they make money, and they can say, hey, give us a percentage of that. So if you can channel all those $5 billion through one platform, it could be a good partnership. So I'm curious, is that possible? Is there one platform
Yes.
That is
yes.
such a really great question, because our strategy for the building of the $20 million is not around just only on direct donations, right? So estate planning is a big part of it for us. the remittance transfer companies is a big part of it. So we have like Western Union, Unitransfers, and so forth. Those are big conglomerate. It's been impossible for us to get in front of them. But there's a number of like new up and coming that even using the Bitcoins and so on. So Kura is a good one of them, Kura, that is being led by Clifford No, NAU, that's like really doing remittance transfer, doing Bitcoins and so on and so forth. We are building that relationship with them as we speak to have an opt-out option of $1 towards the fund as a mechanism, right, to really be able to support like that work in the long runs as well. So really, really great.
Yeah.
I think that was an amazing question.
Yeah.
I actually have some things I would like to share with you afterwards related to that. But in terms of the continent, Africa, you know, at one point, Haiti was being considered as an honorary member of the Union, if you recall. I wonder what role they can play here in terms of just, you know, this model being put forth. Another question I had, it's a little bit unrelated, but relative to the diaspora conversation, is recently they've been talking about allowing us to vote back home. So just wanted to know how you feel about that and what does that look like in translation to where we're going as a community trying to play a bigger role in Haiti.
Yes, great question.
So to the first point of the link between Haiti and the continent, as a country in the Caribbean, Haiti is the closest connection to the continent in terms of retaining its indigenous connection to Africa in a way that we haven't seen in other parts of the world. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we are in Haiti, and we just hosted a group of folks from Uganda, think about that, coming to Haiti just last month, right, as well. Because people see like the role that Haiti can play in sort of retaining like the African stories and so on. So we're in a really, really important conversation right now with Afreximbank in Nigeria, for those of you who know Nigeria, as well, around ways that they can play a significant role in investing in these economic opportunities that we are talking about in Haiti, but also in our honey production piece that I'm talking about. It's not only how can we sell honey in Haiti, but how can we export it to the continent as well as part of the Caribbean as well. And that relationship with Afreximbank and the African Diaspora Network and so forth that we are part of is a way of continuing that connection, right? Now, the second question that you asked, which may not be relevant to everybody, but absolutely really important as well, and that is this idea about Haitians being able to vote in Haiti, right, from the diaspora perspective. So the 1986-87 Constitution changed the law that allows you to have dual citizenship in Haiti, right? And so everybody can now have dual citizenship in Haiti, and you can go and vote in Haiti. What hasn't changed is where can you vote in Haiti? Right now, in order for you to vote, as a person myself who votes in Haiti all the time, I go home to vote. I don't, right? So there hasn't been a mechanism put in place yet for you to be able to vote from New York or Atlanta or wherever you are and not come home to be able to do so. And right now, and we just put out a statement really related to this issue on my LinkedIn page. It has all of the information around the kind of like rhetoric that the government is telling you, because it makes it sound like it's the first time you can do that, when in fact you could have always done that. But it's also thinking about like what are the structures that need to be put in place in order for you to be able to vote, right, as well. Last thing I'll say is the TPS thing, because it's on the news quite a bit. As you know, the United States has 330,000 Haitians in TPS. And even though that was granted the extension just a couple months ago, Trump is fighting it with the Supreme Court is about to hear the case on whether or not to send 330,000 people back home, right?
And we have a resource guide. We have more information, so please, itcommunitytrust.org, and you will find out more information about that, more information about our impact trips, homecoming trips, and more information about our community gatherings. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, the Diaspora Festival.